Hey, I'm Jonathan, the founder of Agriolabs. This is Past Me, and Past Me thought it'd be a good idea to just record a boring old pitch video and just talk about Agriolabs and the micro. Instead, I'd rather just bring you along for the journey and really show you how Agriolabs came to be and the development process of the micro. The very first beginnings of Agriolabs actually took place back in June of 2019 when I first moved out of my mom's place and into my first apartment. It wasn't the very best, but hey, I was a student at the time and the feeling of independence was incredible. However, moving out made me notice something I had never noticed before. I wasted a ton of food, and most of it was just veggies that I had meant to cook but just went bad too quickly. I mean, I could have just lived off pizza and fast food like any other 20-something-year-old, but I wanted to feel like I somewhat had my life together and eat healthy. Plus, food waste just really bugs me. It's terrible for our wallets and terrible for our planet. In fact, the methane gas created by organic waste is one of the leading greenhouse gas emitters. So I thought the easiest solution is to just grow my own veggies. But there's a few problems. I had next to no natural sunlight in my apartment, no real experience growing anything, and honestly, my tiny apartment just didn't have enough space. Luckily, I have a knack for solving problems. The first thing I did was call up one of my best friends since high school, who also has a knack for solving problems, and we got to work on making the first prototype of what would now be known as the micro. But you might be saying, hold on, why microgreens? Well, I was obsessed with how these mini veggies were so nutritionally dense, tasted so good, and grew so quickly. Yet when I tried to grow them on my own, they didn't turn out so great, as you can see here. So that made me pretty determined to make something that would grow microgreens for me and better than me. A couple months later, and after a whole lot of failed 3D printed prototypes, we had our first working prototype. And as you can see, the results it produced were much better than the ones I got on my own, but it was far from perfect. We needed to make them stack, and without a ton of wires, so we developed the first power plate to enable wire-free power transfer. And then we made the whole system stack together magnetically, which was a bit of a challenge on its own since it took a few different patterns and magnet variations to get it working flawlessly. After stacking, we found out that the powerful lights we put in tended to overheat, so we added active ventilation to each micro. The ventilation not only cooled down the lights, but also helped prevent mold inside the grow chamber. Total win-win. At this point, we were at least a couple dozen prototypes in, but we were happy with the results so far and began developing our seed pads. We used a organic rice-based glue to adhere the seeds to the hemp fiber mats and covered the whole thing in a bunch of different materials until we found one that worked. At this point, we actually had a working product. It was incredible. It was super easy to use and low maintenance enough that I supplemented nearly all my meals with microgreens. I decided that we were ready to start selling some of what we called our founders units. We knew that there'd be some improvements we wanted to make, but this was a good time to start putting these out there and get some feedback, and maybe fund our startup a little bit. But then COVID hit. And since we made everything in-house, we quickly found ourselves unable to source enough of the bioplastic we used to make the micros. So while we searched for a source for the materials, we switched gears and began making these mask straps called ear savers for healthcare and essential workers all across Canada. You know, just doing our part and putting the robots to work. And that brings us to the last few months. We finally sent out a few of our founders units, and we've grown our team to 4 people now. But most importantly, with everyone on our team so committed to innovation and sustainability, we discovered that our mission has grown, and we didn't want to just stop at reducing food waste. We came to see the future of Agriolabs as a company that would solve big problems, and we've got big ideas to do that. From massive underwater vertical farms in the ocean that clean the water as they grow food, to feeding deep space journeys and eventually even planetary colonies. But first, we want to bring you a line of modular smart gardens that produce amazing, effortless veggies, and it all starts with the micro. With your support, not only do you get the most innovative growing system ever, but you join us in taking the first step on an incredible mission to eliminate excess food waste and beyond. And for that, thank you from Team Agriolabs.